I mean, if Hitler can do that, bad guy, imagine what a good guy can do.
This is Christian nationalism in a nutshell right here. He is a Christian nationalist, so is the guy on the right here. He just summed it up perfectly. If Hitler, a bad guy, can do all of that, imagine what a good guy dictator could do if he had all of that power. Christian nationalism, at its heart, is the attempt to centralize power, to turn it into kind of an authoritarian structure. As a matter of fact, this Christian nationalist right here, Lauren Witzke on the left, she explains it. Now, I don't know why she has a hamster in her background, but she's influential. She's not a nobody. She has been on DirecTV for years. Like, she worked for True News for a while. I think she may or may not have worked for Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't remember. But she worked for, oh my God, who else? Stu Peters. She worked for Stu Peters, maybe InfoWars. Extremely influential. And she sums up Christian nationalism pretty succinctly also here.
They probably agree. Look, I'm not against theocracy or authoritarianism if it's coming from God. Like, God, for the most part, it's not a democracy in heaven. All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I mean, we saw what happened with democracy. They had the choice between Barabbas and Jesus.
Yeah. They're like, give us like, Barabbas. Okay, the murderer.
Theocratic kingdom of heaven, baby, here on earth.
Amen.
Let's do it.
They keep acting as if like this is some kind of shit.
It couldn't get any worse.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, sure. you want to listen to that crazy lady? AOC, not AOK.
Yeah, AOC is in charge.
So the point is that Christian nationalism at its heart is the desire for dictatorship. And anywhere that dictatorship is kind of inching its way into a political system, extremists and dishonest actors will find their way to that movement. Christian nationalism right now is being run by people who claim to be Christians, primarily non-denominational. It's a form of Pentecostal, really, that have a very specific set of beliefs that's existed for about 100 years at least, but is largely like undefined as its own little thing, if you will. Anyway, that is the movement, the evangelical movement that has decided to try to turn it into a dictatorship in the U.S. Listen to what this guy has to say. By the way, both of these people are Christian nationalists. Has nothing to do with being Christian. That's not my issue. It's the Christian nationalist part that I have an issue with here.
They're not based upon fascism that Hitler was. I mean, that's not, yes, he wanted pride in Germany again. They had been decimated by the previous war. I mean, their inflation rate was astronomical.
Yeah, Germany was very heavily damaged by World War I and the sanctions placed upon them. Even though World War I wasn't entirely Germany's fault, it was a bunch of tensions. I mean, ask yourself right now, what caused World War I? Most people can say it was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. Is that who it was? Sure, that kicked off the war. But why were people fighting? Exactly. What was it fought over? Why was there a World War? World War II was because Hitler wanted to kill a bunch of people, right? Why was World War I fought? It was actually because people just got really pissed off at each other and kept escalating and escalating and escalating. And one guy attacked one country, and then another country saw that this country was occupied, so they swept in, and then somebody saw that one was, so they swept in, and everybody was all fighting on all fronts, and it was just a huge mess. That's what World War I was fought over, really. But Germany was blamed for it. There was plenty of blame to go around, Germany included. Anyway, so what he's saying here is accurate to a degree, but did you catch what he said at the beginning of the sentence?
Fascism that Hitler was. I mean, that's not, yes, he wanted pride.
He frames this like fascism is a good thing.
They're not based upon fascism that Hitler was. I mean,
they're not based on fascism like Hitler was. Like, Hitler was a bad guy. Imagine what a good guy could do, right?
Was astronomical, the Weimar Republic. Now, that's what a bad leader can do, but imagine what a good leader.
Imagine what a good fascist leader could do. That's what he's saying here. Really think about this. Process this. This, by the way, is on Victory News. Or it's on the Victory Channel on TV, like Cartoon Network or Fox or Oxygen or whatever. It is a TV show on DirecTV and whatever other cable packages. These people are not nobodies. This is owned and endorsed and operated by Kenneth Copeland Ministries, and they're talking about, they're encouraging their audience to embrace fascism. Like, that's the word they're using. It's not my word. Quick note before we continue, I want to let you know I just wrote a book. If you want to check it out, owenmorgan.com/book. It's a book about my experiences within Jehovah's Witnesses. It's completely understandable if you know nothing about Jehovah's Witnesses. And if you're a Christian, it's a good reference to use for why Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong about their interpretation of the Bible. The last chapter of the book is 100 questions that I have for the governing body. I'm selling the last chapter separately as its own separate guide if you guys want to get that too. So check it out, owenmorgan.com/book. I'd appreciate that.
Economical, the Weimar Republic. Now, that's what a bad leader can do, but imagine what a good leader could do with nationalism or even Christian nationalism. I mean, if Hitler can do that, bad guy, imagine what a good guy can do.
By definition, if they force their interests and beliefs and opinions and ideals on other people, they are not a good guy. They cannot be considered a good guy. If they have to do what they would have to do to get into the position where they're a dictator in the first place, they're not a good guy, period. And it's like, it's disturbing as hell to hear people normalize fascism and extremism and Christian nationalism in front of an audience of millions, literal millions. I don't think this is Flashpoint TV, but this guy right here, Gene Bailey, he runs Flashpoint. And Flashpoint is gigantic if you don't know what it is. It's a TV show that moves around the country and does conferences and stuff too. Okay, here's a clip. This is from 2022. It's late April 2022, and it should give you some context for how big and influential Flashpoint is. And this is years ago. They're way more influential now.
We invited President Donald J. Trump to come join us tonight. He couldn't do that, but I guarantee you he's going to see this video if he's not watching live. So Dale, if you're taking a camera shot, I want you to tell President Trump what you think of him right now.
I really want this to sink in. Let it sink in. How many people is this? Is this, I'm not good at crowd estimation. 15, 20,000, maybe? I'd say 15 or 20,000. This is like an average Tuesday for them. This is what they pull, these types of numbers, when they hold conferences or whatever. And Gene Bailey, this guy here, is talking at a table with this other dude about how fascism is a good thing and they want more of it. And if we could just get a fascist leader in the name of Jesus, then it would be perfect.
Our patriotism in our Constitution was taken from the Bible. Our three branches of government are from the book. God our lawgiver, God our judge, and God our sovereign, our king.
It's completely made up. It's fabricated out of the ether. That's not true. Our laws were not, or our government structure was not formulated from the Bible. It wasn't based on the Bible in any way. In fact, the people who created our Constitution and our governmental structure were largely Enlightenment thinkers. Thomas Jefferson is extremely influential in the founding of the country, and he was an Enlightenment founder. Enlightenment is the idea that we don't need a God to do anything for us. We can figure our own way out by using logic and reason. That's what the Enlightenment was. Quick interjection, this won't take long. If you like what I do, I'd appreciate it if you watch the video to the end. YouTube bases video reach off of watch time, so watching even an extra minute makes the video go further. Liking and subscribing goes a long way too. Finally, it would be awesome if you guys checked out my Patreon. All links are in the description, of course. Okay, back to the video. These people are just rewriting history to make it out as though, America is Christian, should be Christian. And it's not even like Christianity that's the issue here. Again, sure, fine. Okay, there are a lot of Christians in the U.S. Absolutely, yeah. These people don't want Christians in power. Christians are already in power. What percentage of Congress is Christian, self-professed? 98% or something? Christians already control the government. It isn't Christian or Christianity that this guy wants in authority in the government. It's somebody who would be willing to be a dictator on his behalf and force people to act a certain way, to do certain things, to follow certain traditions and rules and so on and so forth. He doesn't want a Christian nation. He wants a dictatorship. Very different.
God our judge and God our sovereign, our king.
Oh, by the way, if you're Christian, you don't want this either. Trust me. You do not want this. You don't want the world that these people have in mind for us. Any of us.
Our king. So that's where we got our three branches of government.
No, it isn't.
From the Bible. So because it comes from there, that's the measuring stick for that. Daniel, the book of Daniel talks about in the last days and all different nations.
God, I love when people bring up the book of Daniel because I researched the hell out of this book for when I was writing my book. Link in the description if you want to check it out. But I researched the hell out of the book of Daniel, and everybody misinterprets it and bends it to their own interests and whims and will. It's kind of funny to listen to, actually.
Daniel, the book of Daniel talks about in the last days and all different nations. So nationalism is a thing. It's going to be a thing.
Wait, did he just pick out a single word? He said the book of Daniel referred to the last days, and it also contained the word nations? Is that what he just said? I don't know. What is he interpreting from the book of Daniel? I don't understand. This is like Jehovah's Witnesses just picking a random number out of the book of Daniel. There's a verse that says 2,300 mornings and evenings. And they say, well, day-year principle, an old archaic Bible principle that's ridiculous and rejected by a lot of people. So that means 2,300 years now. So let's apply that to some random thing. What did 2,300 mornings and evenings originally mean? Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. That's what he's doing here. He picks a random word out, nations, and he's justifying dictatorship with that. That's insane.
Bible. So because it comes from there, that's the measuring stick for that. Daniel, the book of Daniel talks about in the last days and all different nations. So
in the last days and all different nations? What?
Talks about in the last days and all different nations. So nationalism is a thing. It's going to be a thing. It's just what form of nationalism am I going to follow? I prefer, as a Christian, to follow the foundations of this nation. Right. I'm not going to force you to do it.
That's literally what you're doing. That is nationalism. That is fascism, as he said at the very beginning that he wants. You're forcing your will upon others. What do you mean you're not going to force it?
Nation. Right. I'm not going to force you to do it, but don't deny our rights. There it is. To do that as well. Don't deny my...
Dude, this is wild. These people, okay, when all you know is privilege, equality feels like oppression. These people have no idea what it's like to be oppressed. These people, these two guys right here on screen, have never experienced real oppression or persecution to any degree in their lives, ever. I would be willing to bet. And he's sitting here complaining that he's not allowed to practice his religion. And what is his religion that is being denied? What is a religious practice that he wants to do that he's being denied? Well, nobody should be getting an abortion in the entire country. That's being denied to him, of course. I'm not going to force you to follow my religion, but you're not going to deny me my right to deny you your abortion. Seriously. It's like if a religion had child sacrifice as one of its tenets, right? You must sacrifice a child on the mountain once a day, pull out their beating heart and burn it up or whatever. Once a day, 365 kids a year. That would be illegal, obviously. There is a line where your rights interfere with other people's rights. This kid has a right to live. Whether he wants to be sacrificed or not, it's irrelevant. He doesn't understand what's happening fully. He doesn't understand the complete consequences of the situation, and his rights, in fact, everybody's rights, should be protected from your interest in sacrificing human beings. In the same way, this guy is trying to impose his will on other people, and when he's not allowed to, he's complaining that his rights are being violated. Insane.
Right. I'm not going to force you to do it.
I'm not going to force you to follow my religion. Oh, my God, dude.
But don't deny our rights.
There it is.
To do that as well. Don't deny my freedom.
Yeah, like what freedom is he being denied? At what point has he ever been denied any freedom as a Christian? Ever.
And we know the Constitution is full of references to the Bible.
No, it isn't.
Everywhere.
But the other book that it's...
No, I really want to put this down. The Constitution does not have references to the Bible. In fact, it never says the word God once. People confuse it with the Declaration of Independence. And they confuse, like, the intent and meaning behind the use of the word God in the Declaration of Independence. It was a secular government. The United States was secular. And you know what? If it wasn't, it should have been. It is now. And it should stay that way. Well, it's not really now. Christian nationalists are moving it in another direction, as he's clearly stated.
My freedom.
And we know the Constitution is full of references to the Bible.
Everywhere.
But the other book that it's pulled so heavily on is...
Oh, God, don't tell me it's The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. Tell me that's what he's going to say.
Is John Locke's two treatises of government.
I was really hoping.
Now...
If you don't know the two treatises of government, as he mentioned just now, John Locke's two treatises of government.
The other book that it's pulled so heavily on is John Locke's two treatises of government.
Two treatises of government is the basis for a lot of laws and government structure that we have today. John Locke was a philosopher. Now, this does reference the Bible a few times, except David Barton, that famed propagandist for the Christian wing, for the Christian nationalist wing of the Republican Party, claims that this book here, Two Treatises of Government by John Locke, quotes the Bible over 1,500 times. Except it doesn't, unless you're simply counting the verses that it quotes. Or it doesn't quote, the verses that it cites. He mentions the book of Proverbs in Two Treatises of Government. And he's counting that. How many verses are there in Proverbs? Proverbs has 915 verses, so there are 915 references in the to the Bible right there for this book. I'm dead serious. I'm not even joking. That's what they did to claim that there were 1,500 references to the Bible in this. It's a joke. Oh, and by the way, Two Treatises of Government is not the U.S. Constitution.
It's pulled so heavily on is John Locke's Two Treatises of Government. Now, and that book is full of scripture.
Yeah, there are a few. Yeah, okay. There's some writing, some scripture in there, some citations to Bible verses. Sure. Okay. So there were a whole bunch of people back then who were super Christian. It was like the thing to be. Nobody understood how we got here. No one understood the world. No one understood anything. If you were anything, you were a deist. You believed that a God came along and sparked us into being and then left. That's what Thomas Jefferson was. I mean, I guess there were atheists around, but they were exceedingly rare. Anyway, the point is that these people love to twist history around and rewrite it until it fits what they want it to fit. And they want a fascist dictatorship. That's what he said, right? That's what the guy said in the beginning. Now, again, this is Gene Bailey on Flashpoint talking about how to start this Christian nationalist state, which honestly is becoming a euphemism for fascist dictatorship. This, by the way, this clip we're about to watch, this is from September 15th, 2022.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know it, you're in the middle of a war. And what we're dealing with on a daily basis are acts of war. But let me say right here, I'm not talking about going and getting your AR and go down and take care of business. It's not what I'm talking about.
It's disturbing that he even said that, point blank.
However.
And it's even more disturbing that he added a however on the end. You ever heard somebody say, I'm not racist, but you know some really, really racist shit is coming out the other end of that, right? Do you hear what this guy just said? I'm not saying to get your AR and go down there and take care of business. However, no, there shouldn't be a however on that.
Business. It's not what I'm...
People laughing at this, dude. Jesus.
Talking about. However, we are in a war nonetheless. But let me bring it home really easily to you right now.
So I clipped it there. If you want to see the whole thing, I covered this entire episode on my Owen Unfiltered YouTube channel in September 2022. It's when I watched it. So just check out the channel if you want to see the whole thing.
You see, there's a Goliath in your life. And if there's a David on the inside of you, you're not looking at how big Goliath is.
What did David do to Goliath in the Bible? He killed him. This guy's likening you to David and your enemy to Goliath and talking about AR-15s.
Or how many people he destroyed. What you're seeing is what David said. What do I get if I kill him? Now tell me again what I get if I take this guy out.
You're hearing this, right? This is them trying to radicalize Christian nationalists, trying to work them into a blood frenzy, trying to acclimate them to the idea that we will come to a point where they do have to get their ARs. And we're basically there. He's trying to prepare them for the day that the fascist dictatorship, their words not mine, is ready to take things over and destroy democracy in the U.S. That is psychotic. These are Trump's most ardent supporters. It doesn't get more disturbing than that. Holy Christ on a cracker.
That's bold Mike Lindell type of confidence. I'm looking for some warriors. The army may be looking for a few good men, but I'm looking for a few warriors in the room.
He's saying he wants to create a militia. He wants people to... He's whipping them into violence, right? I don't know how else to phrase it. He wants people to view themselves as soldiers in a war and bringing up vivid imagery about killing people and talking about weapons.
But the real battle isn't here at this meeting. The real battle is when you go home and you go back to work. And you go look at your child or your grandchild that doesn't know what sex they are.
Okay, that does not exist, but holy Christ, seriously. Scary shit, dude. Yeah, Mike Sinek said it best. Scary shit. For real. That is nuts. There is no kid that doesn't know what sex they are. Like, this is a fabricated problem that nobody has ever faced in the history of the United States, okay? My God.
That's when the real battle comes. There's got to be an understanding that there's something living on the inside of you that's much bigger than who you are on your own. That gives you that David kind of boldness that says, what do I get, God, if I take this guy out? You see,
that is deeply disturbing right there. For real.
See, you've been in an active war for the last few years more than you've ever been before. Now, there's a lot of people out there saying Jesus is coming soon, and he is. But listen, we got a lot of work to do before Jesus comes back.
Here's the key. This is their justification for a fascist dictatorship right here, okay?
A lot of work to do before Jesus comes back. Don't get me wrong, I'm ready to go on the first bus load out. However, there's other scriptures that say, well, occupy until he comes.
I don't know anything about a scripture that says occupy until he comes. Is that even a verse? Luke 19:13. I mean, I kind of want to understand the context behind this. Let's see. Luke 19:13. Let's pull this puppy up, see what we got. Okay, it says, he summoned 10 of his slaves. Wait, what are we even talking about here? Slaves? Jesus didn't have any slaves. 1912, right? Oh, I'm sorry. It was Luke 19:13. Okay. the parable of the 10 pounds. So I guess Jesus is telling a parable here. As they were listening to this, he went on to tell a parable because he was near Jerusalem and because they supposed that the kingdom of God was to appear immediately. So he said, a nobleman went to a distant country to get a royal power for himself and then return. He summoned 10 of his slaves and gave them 10 pounds and said to them, do business with these until I come back. That's the verse. Do business with these until I come back. But the citizens of his country hated him and sent a delegation after him, saying, we do not want this man to rule over us. When he returned, having received royal power, he ordered these slaves, to whom he had given the money, to be summoned so that he might find out that they'd gain what they had gained by trading. Okay, so the parable from Jesus was about a guy giving money to some people and telling them to build it up so that it, they earn money with it. And when he comes back, he'll see how much money they earned with what he gave them, right? The first came forward and said, Lord, your pound has made 10 more pounds. He said to him, well done, good slave, because you've been trustworthy in a very small thing. Take charge of 10 cities. Then the second came, saying, Lord, your pound has made 5 pounds. He said to him, and you rule over 5 cities. And the other came, saying, Lord, here is your pound. I wrapped it up in a piece of cloth, for I was afraid of you, because you are a harsh man. You take what you did not deposit, and reap what you did not sow. He said to him, I will judge you by your own words, you wicked slave. You knew, did you, that I was a harsh man, talking that I did not deposit and reaping what I did not sow? Why then did you not put my money into the bank? Then when I returned, I could have collected it with interest. Okay, I am super confused by the point of the parable. I don't even know what Jesus is trying to communicate with this. Honestly, I don't know what was being communicated, but I can tell you that it absolutely was not that Gene Bailey and other Christian nationalists should occupy the United States until Jesus comes back.
Never. There's other scriptures that say, well, occupy until he comes.
No, that's not what the scripture says, at all. I am just, astounded at their ability to misquote and twist verses completely out of proportion. It's like a gift with these people. I mean, here's another Christian nationalist, a good example of one. This guy's name is Sean Feucht, F-E-U-C-H-T, I think is how it's spelled.
That's why we get called. Well, you're a Christian nationalist.
Okay, let me just, one more time, I want to make this clear. I have no problem with Christians in government. Congress is already 98% Christian or something, right? I mean, how many Christians are there? They're almost all Christian in Congress. That's fine. I'm fine with the fact, I voted for Joe Biden. He's a Catholic. My issue isn't Christian or Christianity. My issue is the nationalist part. My issue is the fact that these people don't want the Christians that are in power right now to be in power. They want their Christians to be in power. This isn't just Christianity. This is something built on top of Christianity. I mean, it is Christianity, of course, but it's more than just that. They aren't okay with just Christians running government. They want to run the government. When I say they, I mean Gene Bailey, Sean Feucht or whatever. I'm talking Hank Kunneman and, Eric Metaxas. Any of these people that I ever talk about as Christian nationalists, they want to have the final say. Hank Kunneman, you know what? I will even demonstrate what I'm talking about here. There's a guy named David Barton. He is the source of pretty much all Christian nationalist propaganda at this point. This is him on the left, and he's about to explain what Hank Kunneman wants Hank Kunneman's role to be in the government.
He told the people that if you want to know what the law is, go ask the priest. And it wasn't just the ecclesiastical law, it was every aspect of law.
I mean, the ecclesiastical law, I'm not sure he's talking about the Mosaic Law. I mean, the Mosaic Law was the law. What do you mean it was all of the law?
Law. It was every aspect of law. And that's the way the American founding was, what I showed you this morning. It's
just a lie. It's just a propagandistic lie.
And that's the way the American founding was. That's what I showed you this morning when John Adams said, where do we get our ideas? He pointed to pastors. It's not just the conversion stuff, it's the discipleship stuff. And I really encourage you to be broad-minded in that. All it means, the legal stuff as well. There's just a whole lot there. People need to go to you to find out what the law means and what the law says. Not just the Bible law, but every law that's out there. We're the ones that have the best perspective on it.
So what does Hank Kunneman want Hank Kunneman's role to be in the future Christian nationalist dictatorship, the fascist dictatorship? Their words, not mine. Hank Kunneman wants to be the person that the dictator comes to ask for decisions. He wants to be the string puller.
You to find out what the law means and what the law says, not just...
They have to come to you to find out what it means and what it says. As a pastor. Not just any pastor, not a Christian pastor, a Christian nationalist pastor.
That's why we get called. Well, you're a Christian nationalist. You want the kingdom to be the government. Yes?
No, that's like what basically everybody in Congress wants. That's not the problem. The problem is these people are trying to force their will on everybody around them. That is not what Jesus stood for. Jesus, you know what Jesus said? What would this guy be doing if he was following in Jesus' footsteps? You know what he'd be doing? He would be giving out every penny that he has earned as a Christian nationalist speaker, and he would be going on the road and talking about Jesus and how much he loves people and caring for the poor and taking care of everybody that he possibly can, giving food to everybody that he can. Every penny he makes going to the poor, preaching about how being poor is virtuous. That's what he'd be doing. What's he doing instead? He's trying to control the political system.
To be the government, yes? You want God to come and overtake the government, yes?
Okay, you want God to take the government over. He's not advocating for God to take the government over. He's advocating for him to take it over. There's a slight distinction to be found there. I'm sorry. Ecclesiastical law was church law. The law specifically applied within the church. Okay, my mistake. And the Mosaic Law, I guess, was the whole law or something. Like, I don't know. I don't even remember because I haven't looked into it that much.
God to come and overtake the government, yes? You want Christians to be the only ones that, yes, we do?
We want Christians to be the only ones that are in government, I guess.
We wouldn't be a disciple of Jesus if we didn't believe that?
Okay, you wouldn't be a disciple of Jesus. Where did Jesus say that you're supposed to impose your will on everybody and take control of nations by force? I don't remember him saying anything about... Well, all I remember Jesus saying was take care of the poor, kind of live in a socialist utopia, you know, that kind of thing. Instead, we have, their words, not mine, fascist dictator mindsets here trying to push their way into government. That's nuts.
We want God to be in control of everything. We want believers to be the ones writing the laws. Yes, guilty as charged.
They already are. He's complaining that they're not. You know why? He doesn't consider them real Christians. You're not a real Christian unless you're an evangelical, a Christian nationalist. You must be his form of Christian. That's psychotic. Of course, there's this famous clip right here with Trump.
He said, okay, because he wanted to, you're not going to be a dictator. Is that, you know? I said, no, Sean, I'm going to be a dictator. I said that.
He's talking about an interview he did with Sean Hannity because he said he wanted to be a dictator for a day and then do all this stuff and then he'll stop being a dictator. Guess what? People don't stop being dictators. Why do I even feel compelled to say that? Is it necessary? Donald Trump said, I want to be a dictator for a day. And Sean Hannity said, but you don't really want to be a dictator, right? Just clarify this for me. Like, do you want to be a dictator? And Trump reiterated, yes, I want to be a dictator. Now, Donald Trump has positioned himself perfectly to be the conduit through which the Christian nationalist extremists control government. They endorse him, they get him voted into office, and he puts in the judges that they want. You know, they hand him a list. Here, these are the federal judges' positions that we want to fill, and these are the people that we want to fill it with. He says, okay, just sign off, whatever. I mean, why does he care? He's in power. That's what he wanted. If they want to put in some nutty federal judges, go ahead. Hey, we want to pass this law. Okay, whatever. Hey, we want to ban abortion nationwide. Okay, I'm never having an abortion, so I might as well, you know? Trump wants to be the conduit through which Christian nationalists operate. And guess what? The Christian nationalists, the evangelicals, they want to be that conduit too. They want to be in that relationship. They want to be in the equation. It's disturbing stuff, man. I'm telling you, you got to get out there and vote for real. Crawl over broken glass to vote, because guess what? Trump's supporters are going to be crawling over broken glass to vote for him. Christian nationalists' supporters are going to be crawling over broken glass to vote for their people. You better be out there doing it too. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. It's just nuts, dude. It's just nuts.